that is the COVID-19 Twitter segments across the United States in August 2020. We collected a lot of tweets during this period, and I would like to talk about what did we find in those tweets and how did we go about doing this particular analysis. So this is a brief outline of our presentation. Basically, why did we choose, what is the social media as a communication channel and Twitter as a blog, and some of the research questions that we tried to answer. And then data collection, I'll briefly talk about the data collection process we adopted, and data preparation, finally results and outcome, and Q&A. So social media, we all know it is creating a big impact in terms of how people are communicating, how people are using the social media. So this is not new right now. We are all familiar how this is impacting in a bigger way to communicate and spread certain things, and also as an influencer in the domain. So we have seen all these things in 2008, what happened in the US election, how they used the campaign, and even South Africa, Taiwan, Tunisia, Turkey, India all saw use of social media to bring a major change in the political system. Twitter has been selected as a social media because it's one of the popular social media, and also the academicians, researchers are very interested to study more about the Twitter. How do we, how do people across different countries use that microblogging to express their views? So Twitter has many written on specifically Twitter. I'm not going to go over those things, but just to mention, and then we also, researchers, got interested to know a lot about the Twitter, and we started working on Twitter and social media. So basically, this is the conceptual model developed by Kitchen in 2011, how social media is used. Social media can be used to build a reputation as an influence, and it can also be used for conversation. What is happening in and around our community, and you can also share the information about the current events and other happenings in and around your place. So this is the kind of conceptual model that has been developed, and we try to see whether this conceptual measure is really true when it comes to the Twitter. And particularly when it comes to the COVID-19, what people are talking about, and what kind of sentiments, is there any sentiments at all in that Twitter messages? So that was the idea of this research. So want to answer how frequently people are communicating COVID-19 information. So, during the COVID-19, we all know people are going through a lot of tough times, and we just wanted to know what kind of messages people are tweeting, or what kind of things that they are doing. And that also tells us the sentiments, what is their behavior in their messages. That are they angry, or are they upset, or are they saying something else? So are they providing information related to the COVID-19? So these are some of the things we wanted to find out, and also, is there any relationship at all between the actual tweets and the number of actual cases that has been reported by the CDC in the United States, okay. And of course, trying to predict COVID-19 sentiments. So that is the part of the work we did. This, pretty much the methodology we used. Basically, first is your data. So we need the data input. So we collected data directly from the database. And once the data we have, it will be a series of NLP process, preparing the data. And then finally, we developed a simple classifier model, to find out whether there are any sentiment exist, and then find out what kind of sentiments that we can see. That is just the simple model that we followed. So this is the most critical part of it, and this is the one which takes a lot of time. We developed, Python. Using the Python, we developed a program. This is the architecture. Basically, you have to connect to the Twitter database we have to authenticate using OAuth protocol. And then we have to use some of the API and develop a crawler application. So, there is a scheduler which collected the tweets over a period of 24 hours for the entire month of August 2020. And once we have those Twitter, so we store all those things in a database, and the database, you try to pre-process and then find out, it will be an input to the sentiment analyzer. This is the typical application for connecting any data, for example. So Twitter crawler application, we used Python and Java, and also a library to collect the tweets from Twitter database. And Twitter API enables to access the Twitter database and interact with the tweets from the users. So Twitter, one of the things in the changing quite often with the new releases, new modifications, new updates. So whatever I have used today, there is no guarantee that it will work tomorrow. On top of it, there is something called TP library. It is kind of a wrapper to access the Twitter API. It is somewhat easier to access the Twitter API. And also it uses this OAuth authentication protocol. To learn more about how to use the Twitter API, so you can refer to this document, http://docs.twitter.com. So data preparation and processing is the most consuming part, probably in any of the data science process. So similarly in Twitter, it's even more complicated because they have to express their views on not very short sentences. Earlier it was only 256, I think 140. Right now they have made it as 256. So even so, the Twitter messages are not so clean in the sense there will be a lot of spelling mistakes, grammatical errors, probably incomplete. You use a lot of the slang languages, and also you see a lot of these short terms observations which we may not be familiar at all. So extracting any information from the Twitter messages is very challenging, and you will spend a lot of time in cleaning these tweets. So before you even process for any further analysis. So this is something which takes a lot of time, and even sometimes we feel whatever we have done may not be good enough. So what is the results that we got? So first of all, we wanted to find out how people are tweeting during this time. So we found out that the New York, Maryland, New Jersey, Delaware. So they are these are some of the states where people are tweeting heavily during the COVID period. So this is just more an information to see whether people are tweeting at all, and we are tweeting. And further, we wanted to find out sentiments that can exist. So we decided to look at basically two. So one is, from all the tweets, we wanted to find out the COVID virus. Who is talking about COVID virus, coronavirus? These are some of the terms that we wanted to search and look for. Then second one is the symptoms. Other people are talking about quarantine or symptoms, fever, any isolation. So that is the second one we wanted to search, and we wanted to look for that kind of a sentiment. And third is anything related to death. Are there any messages, people talking about somebody has died or somebody is dying, anything related to the death? So these are the main sentiments we wanted to find out. And what we found was very interesting. Yes, people were talking about these sentiments on the symptoms. Quite a bit of people are talking about the sentiments. So this is the picture. So as you can see, New York had, once again, New York topped the list, and California and Nevada, Delaware. So this is the list, how people sentiments when it comes to the symptoms. And when it comes to the death, interestingly, there are a lot more people active when it comes to the death. New York and California, Texas, and Washington, D.C., and Massachusetts, Arizona. So these are some of the top states where people are actively communicating anything related to death. Maybe there's somebody they know died, or somebody in their family may have had any, passed away. So all these things, people were tweeting actively. And this is the performance that we got. So roughly about 83% is the performance of our sentiment analysis. Okay. And then if you look at just the tweets summary, just to give you the statistics, 394,057, nearly 400,000 tweets we collected. And just related to the COVID, it's around 207,072. And symptoms, it is very less, for 4,728. Whereas the death, there are a lot more people talking about this death that happened. So by looking at this, we wanted to develop what is called as a sentiment score. So sentiment score, it is based on the actual deaths. We took some data from this John Hopkins University, where constantly they were providing the current COVID number of cases and in all the states, as well as the number of deaths that has happened. So we took that data and tried to compare with the actual sentiments that we have found. So we developed this to find out what is the ratio. That's exactly the sentiment score is. So interestingly, when it comes to the symptoms, so this is a kind of score that we got, and when it comes to the death, so this is the score we got. Part of the sentiment score means people are more active in communicating that kind of message. So if you look at these scores, so when it comes to the death, so there are a lot more people are trying to communicate on the Twitter, so than when it comes to the symptoms. So that is something interesting observation that we saw. So in conclusions, tweets related to COVID demonstrate, in our case, one is the death and other one is the symptoms, and it's across all the states of the United States. So people are tweeting. In some cases it is a small number, some cases it is a large number. And people have tweeted more about the deaths than the symptoms, and the majority of tweets are related to COVID-19 information. So they're just saying, okay, there's a COVID, somebody, it's more about information. Look at CDC guidelines, so what CDC has provided, about masks, those kind of information, majority of tweets. And there is no or a little correlation between tweets and the actual number of cases across the states. So what it means is, when you look at the actual cases, and people are tweeting. So absolutely, there is no little, it's nothing to do. So people are quite independent. So it doesn't mean that people are tweeting actively because there are many number of cases or vice versa. So with that, this is a simple experiment. I conclude. I have also in my paper listed down some of the future work that has to be done. So you can look at my paper for all the details. So with that, I will take any questions and answers that you may